What a boring week. I wish something would happen. Yeah, insane. I mean, there's no news lately. There's no news lately. What's good? What's the intro song? It's Glitch Mob. Hey, I hope the war is over before 4 years because I just put the paperwork to go to school again. And it's going to be paid for when the Navy Reserve. Yeah. Anthropic really missed out not being part of this. Yeah, I'm sure they're kicking themselves. I'm sure they're kicking themselves not being part of a brand new war. I got a couple things. I got a lot to say about this, actually. I got a lot, but I'll give it a second. I'll give it a second for everyone to filter in. I'm glad I had a date today to distract from the doom scrolling. Isn't it kind of tough to have a date on the day there's like a major military strike? Do you just not bring it up? Are you on the date and you don't even mention it? You're just like, hey, and you just don't talk about how there's like a, I don't know, that's crazy to me. I'm going to Stanz's house tonight because he's having a dinner and it's all we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about it. There's just no way you can't talk about it. It's crazy. Omnavius, thank you for the 20 months. 88 in my macro test. Turns out big A streams are more valuable than study. Amen, brother. A fucking men. It's a crazy thing to talk about on the first date. I mean, I guess it is, but also like, I don't know. It's so strange not to talk about it. I don't know. It's like you'd have to be completely unplugged from the world. It started at night last night. Well, it was like 2:30. It started at 2:30 Eastern. And it's continued for the hours into the day. And, you know, I'll cover it in a second. Bro. Drunk white boy there for the 7 months. You think Trump tries to give a "we got him" speech? He already did. He already posted a whole thing about Khamenei on True Social. We got him. Maybe he'll try to do an actual speech. I see what you're saying. The real thing is whether he does a mission accomplished George Bush, 1 week in. That's the real question. Where he puts up a banner. Hey, Shrug, any chance this war was started on purpose to boost the economy for Trump's numbers? I wouldn't put it past him. I wouldn't put it past him. I don't think this will boost the economy. There's other reasons behind this, but it's not for. It's going to raise gas prices. It's not going to. It's not going to boost the economy. Hey, babe. Hey. Yeah, let me mute. She just said chat looks really nice today, and she's like, "Wow, you have a great chat." That's what she said. She said, "Just don't forget to tell your chat they're looking good, and they are. It's an honor and a pleasure to have such a great chat." And that was so nice. That was so nice of her. No, she told me. I don't know why I had to mute for that. She told me to bring the donuts to Stanz's party thing tonight. His little dinner. She bought donuts and she said, "Don't forget to bring them." And by the way, I'm not going to eat any, in case you're wondering. Maybe she was, I'm not going to eat any donuts. Because I'm on a year of health. I'm on the year of health, so I'm not eating the donuts. As the U.S. intervenes in oil production, yeah, this is way closer to the accurate, but I'll get to it. I got a map and everything, bro. Let me show the map. This is way closer to like the geostrategic rationale behind this than boost the economy. That, and there's a real chance this could be used. Depends on how long this lasts, but this could be used as a pretext for a state of emergency around elections. That is something I'm just more and more concerned about because they keep saying it. That's the honest thing, is they keep saying it. But. We'll talk about it in a second. TLDR good for Russia or bad for China? Well, it's complications. It's complications. I mean, you're kind of preempting my slides here, but Russia sources all its drones that it uses to fight against Ukraine from Iran. The Shahid drone. Shahid? I don't know how to pronounce the drone, but they come from there. So there's a lot going on here, bro. This is like a major geopolitical event that has huge implications. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm generally anti-war, and especially with this leadership. So I'm going to explain why I don't support these strikes. But I'm going to explain there's a lot more nuance. It's not a simple thing. There are winners and losers, and there's some people that I want to lose that are losing, but it's not. But I got to get to it. I think you should know if you bounce around in your chair too much and blow out the gas cylinder for underneath you, you will die from blood loss from the anus. Be careful. Thank you, Wiggles. Thank you. But I've already broken 4 chairs and so far have not exploded the gas cylinder to kill myself. But thank you. I will definitely keep that fair warning in mind. Bro's got the green on green fit. Yeah, I do. I guess I do. That's a problem. I'm in military camo for when I get drafted, okay? I'm already preempting. That way I can't get drafted. I'm already way too fucking old. I guess I'm in solidarity for when you get drafted. Mr. Beastland is in danger. It is! Mr. Beastland is legitimately in danger in the range of these strikes, these counter strikes. Hey, Truck, if I get drafted, can we have a weekly segment? That would be kind of the hype. The man in the field, I get Adish to report from the front lines. Yeah, for sure. Unless it gets boring. I can only hear Adish complain about being stuck in the desert for too long. You know what I'm saying? And then I got to get back to playing Hitman, Elusive Contracts. What is this? Funniest tweet I've seen today. That is funny. That is funny. I gotta put this in the. I gotta put this in the thing. That is actually kind of a hoot. You actually might have cooked with that one. Let me put it in so that I can show it. Okay. Okay. Atrioc finding out the Iran supreme leader is dead is like finding out the queen died. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I wish it was a heart attack. Okay, I don't want my country in a war. But yeah, I got no love lost for the fucking Ayatollah Khomeini. Haven't we committed acts of war 12 countries since Trump took office? Why is this one so significant? Just the scale of it. If you want the honest answer, this is the much bigger scale. A much bigger scale against a much bigger armed target. A nation of 90 million that's bigger than Texas. Okay, it's a bigger scale. This is a big event. We are living through big events. In fact, I would say the first 2 months of 2026 is one of the most eventful periods a 40-year-old would have lived through in their entire life. A 2-month period in their entire life. It's like, you could say 9/11, but I would say we've had more happen in these 2 months than in 9/11, than in September and October of 2001. In terms of like what actually is going to impact, but we'll see. I mean, there's a lot. Certainly that would be the last parallel. And then before that, it's like, I don't know, the fall of USSR in 91. And then before that, it would be, I don't know. It's like there's big events, bro. Like these, the thing about these events, the thing about what's been happening in the past few months, and really post-COVID, but especially the past few months, is that they're not even like capstone events. They're events that are like, oh, this is the beginning of something more. They're like dominoes. They're events that seem like the middle of something much worse about to happen. They're like things you'd find at the beginning of a Wikipedia article on something much bigger. That's what they feel like. What is that in Marvel terms? It's like we're watching the movies that led up to Endgame, but not yet watching Endgame. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Zoomers? Okay. It's like we're watching Thor Dark Age. Yeah. This is the second Hulk movie. Sure, yeah. I'm early 20s Gen Z, and it generally feels like million things are happening all the time since COVID. Is it not always like this? I literally think that if you are early 20s Gen Z, it's so hard for me to explain to you how different things were even in just the 90s. because if you're early 20s Gen Z, your entire life has been Donald Trump. Legitimately, it's been it's been 10 years. And so if you're like 23, you were 13 when he first appeared on the scene. Well, actually, when he first won, let alone the first appeared on the scene. And then, you know, it's not like things were amazing before that, but like isn't that crazy? And, you know, even Obama is post 08 recession, which deeply changed the fundamental fabric of the American economy, because after then we started QE and money printing and all the things that boosted asset inflation. So like you have to like remember as like with some clarity pre-2008 to even truly understand what it was like. Pre-2008 is like the only time you can really talk about like a different type of being. And then, you know, really you have to go pre-9/11 to understand before we started getting in these massive 20-year plus quagmire forever wars. So, you know, like, I guess I try to like get that across in my content sometimes, but I am hearkening back to, I'm talking even pre-90s. I'm talking about pre-Reagan stuff that I really like, but the 90s were a period where, you know, there was a middle class. It was broadly working. American manufacturing jobs hadn't been offshored yet. Like, there was something there. If you can't remember that, it's hard to even care. It's like I can understand people get so nihilistic because they don't even think there's a world outside of this. And it's like we made the choices to get out of that. Only 90s kids remember 90s. Isn't this true? Yeah, plus there was Michael Jordan. Yes, you guys are just listing things from the 90s, and I'm really talking about like a timeline of geopolitical decay. I'm not like Gen 1 Pokemon was the great. I'm not doing that, okay? I'm talking about like things that, yes, Space Jam and E.T. Yeah, you guys are not really honing in on what I'm saying. You're kind of like, this is why talking to my parents can feel so frustrating. They still think we live in the 80s and 90s politically and economically. I don't even know what that looks like. Yeah, that's a huge boomer problem. Is like the willful la ignorance about how much the ground has decayed under their feet because they still have this shrinking stability, economic stability. They often own assets, and that has allowed them to ignore the decay. Like, you know, it's something as simple as like, you know, they tell you to walk into a place and show your resume to get a job. And it's like, that's not how jobs are applied for anymore. And that's not what the job market's like. Everything's changed. Like everything, the world is not how they remember it. And so that's a problem. Did you shake his hand though? All boomers do when they get into an argument is point at their house. Why would that work? The argument's usually about how they own too much of the real estate and housing prices are too high. How would that be a good argument to point at the house? That's that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. As a Ukrainian, last couple decades have been one thing after another. Soviet Union collapse, Maidan revolution, to became ruined to full scale. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Listen, I'm not here comparing the plight. It's not a contest. I think Ukraine is in a horrible situation, and I deeply feel for them, empathize. I will say there's interesting Ukraine angles to what happened today. We'll talk about them. Khamenei no longer confirmed dead. I'm pressing X to doubt. I understand this could be wrong. I understand the source is American and Israeli intelligence, that he's dead, and it's possible that he is alive, but I'm pressing X to doubt. Only because if he were alive, a televised address would prove it instantly, and it would make their announcements look wrong. But I just don't think, I think he's dead. They don't actually have a great incentive to lie about it, especially when they have a week's worth of bombing ahead of them. They just, I think he's dead. I just think he's dead. I think that's just like a fact, or not enough. I think it's like a likely fact. I'm taking the odds, and I think the odds, by the way, because there is odds, because we live in this fucking crazy world where you can bet on every geopolitical event. I literally think the poly market odds are like 97%. So I'm taking the odds. But that's the thing you used to say, like ironically or metaphorically, and now it's literally because we literally have gambling on every major political figure's life and death. Somehow Khamenei returned. What's made me feel crazy is people around my life who think they lie on some financial with the levels against MAGA, but they put their heads in the sand, not knowing what's going on in this too overwhelming to control. Yeah, I mean, yes. A lot of people are, I never got to do my predictions, and I'm sad about that because I think they were fire. I never got to do them because it's just a fucking project that makes me fucking lose my mind. But the year of, I called it the year of retreat. That was my final one, was the year of retreat. Because I think that a huge portion of people this year are going to mentally retreat from thinking about this stuff because it's overwhelming. I don't think it's mostly this chat because it's like a political adjacent chat, but I do think a lot of people are going to pull back and dive deeper into niche hobbies and games and anime and porn and what. I think that is what they're doing because it's overwhelming. And I can't necessarily blame them because if you don't feel like you have agency to change it, then it just stresses you out. So they just, the year of retreat, I think that is, I think it is appropriate. You know what? Remind me, do I have any more days before February's over? Maybe we'll just do a smaller, no, it's the last day of February. Fuck me, dude. All right. Maybe just for the real ones in early March, I'll just do what the year ofs were. I just never made the slides. I made the predictions, but I never made the slides. Like I just made the blank white text. And I think they're fire. I think I got some fire year ofs. But we'll do it. We'll do it maybe sometime soon. Anyway, yeah, year of retreat is what I think it is. The slides are the easy part? No, dude. Don't disrespect this capital J job. The slides are the hard part, bro. You gotta like make the videos and then you gotta time it. You gotta make a joke. You gotta plan. It's all fucking hard. Like the easy part is just thinking about what the year might be like. Bro, is viewer-splaining a working streamer? Yeah! Tell his ass, dude! You're viewer-splaining me! Don't view-splain me! Hey, Big A, I got my first job post-grad as a news producer, and I start on Monday. Very sad there's nothing happening in the news now. Yeah, I feel for you, bro. What a tough time to work in the news. You just have nothing to talk about. Bro is sponsored by... I'm not sponsored by Copilot. Oh, by the way, I don't know if we're going to be able to get to this today, but I think, this is, I'll just say this right now, this is the people for live. This will probably be a clip later for something bigger, but I think if you are a paying subscriber of OpenAI, you should cancel. You should go, if you have to use AI for something, use Gemini or Claude. I think you should cancel it. I legitimately think that is a smart thing to do. I also think Gemini and Claude are better anyway. So you're not even, I'm not even giving you a hard task. I think you should cancel it. I think what they did to backstab Dario Amadei and what they did to pretend to support stopping mass surveillance, but then joining the Pentagon is, I think it's whack. I think it's super whack. And I think you should switch. And so I'm doing a free ad for Gemini plus Claude. I canceled. By the way, I had a fucking whatever the top OpenAI tier was. I canceled it. I hadn't used it for a while anyway. I was like, why am I canceled it? So I think you should do that. And we'll mention this again. I'll do a bigger presentation, but I just wanted to say that early because I just believe it. I think we're going to talk about it on Lemonade Stand too. I use Rocket Money, by the way, to cancel it. RocketMoney.com. If you need help canceling it, if you want to just one click do it, you can go to rocketmoney.com/Atrioc, sign up to give you a list of our subscriptions, including dog shit ones like ChatGPT, and you can cancel it one click from the app. How fucking awesome is that? How fucking awesome is that? And if you need help paying for it, use Klarna. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. By the way, I mean, dude, I feel like every day I'm getting hit with a new like breaking event. I've got, where is this? I've got like a 48 slide. Yeah, look at this. Well, I can't show it to you, but I'll just show you one slide. Here, I'll show you this fucking beast art. I photoshopped this myself, by the way. How do I? Look at this, dude. I got this fucking sick buy now, pay later presentation that I want to do. But I fucking but there's war. I guess there's war we got to talk about. Markiplier really brought about the curse with that weird Ayatollah tangent. Just to be clear, if you didn't watch the episode, Markiplier did not have an Ayatollah tangent. Markiplier talked about his movie for 90 minutes. He did not bring up U.S. politics nor the Ayatollah. Yo, Big A, catching your stream for the first time. Appreciate your content. Thanks, bro. Appreciate that. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. This is the earliest I'm usually live, so. Guidance week. Thank you for the 10 gifted. Listen, I'm going to talk about, here's the thing. There's two things I want to discuss. Actually, there's like four about this war in Iran. I want to talk about the political situation in the U.S. and the response there. I want to talk about geopolitically what this might mean, including connections to Russia, China, etc. I want to talk about the history. And this I'm going to borrow from a presentation I did on Lemonade Stand. If you've already seen it, shut the fuck up. But I want to go into the history of like regime change in Iran and how we got to this point. And then I want to talk about, I think I had one more thing. Maybe just the hypocrisy of all the anti-war stuff that Trump said going into this administration. I think that's just regardless of what you think about the Ayatollah or anything. It's like, it's just frustrating to have a leader openly mislead. I saw someone in the Marketing Money Discord asking whether getting an econ degree from a top 500 global university was worth it or they should go for a physics degree. Why don't you just get both by watching Marketing Monday and Big A clips? Everyone here is now an accomplished physicist and an accomplished economist. That I don't understand. It's free too. You don't even have to. I mean, maybe you should buy the hat. The worst thing about this war is it's being started by a pedophile. It's like the Norm Macdonald thing. You can forgive pedophilia, but when he starts a war, it makes you question the whole thing. It's the hypocrisy. E equals Minecraft squared. Like subbing to an app to be able to cancel the apps you're subbing to. Actually, motherfucker, Rocket Money will let you cancel your stuff for free. What you subscribe for is the ability for them to negotiate down your payments with things like cable or electric or gym bills. Okay, so you can use the free version and delete your apps and delete your subscriptions. One click. Okay, in case you're wondering. He uses a product. I use a product. You think this is a cover up for the Anthropic contracts? Dude, I'm gonna crash out. Do I think the war in Iran is a cover up for the Anthropic contract switch? No. Dude, the amount of people making insane cover up stories and insane conspiracy theories that don't even like pass the most basic muster. No, I don't. No. I don't think so. But you know what? Maybe once we give the explanation. All right, I think we have enough people. Let me talk about this. Okay, listen. Wait. You know what we need is Trump's video. We gotta watch Trump's video first. His kickoff video. Where did he put it? Trump. There it is. Dude, 791,000 likes. Wow. Turns out launching a war without the approval of Congress that may end up being another 20-year quagmire is an incredible way to become an influencer. Think about that. Okay, listen, at 2:30 a.m. Eastern time this morning, Donald Trump posted this and kicked off strikes combined with Israel into Iran. Kicking off what seems to be a large-scale attempt at regime change within the country. I'm going to watch his video first. We'll keep the highlights and the key parts. And then I want to explain a lot. I want to talk about a lot because this has a lot of implications.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
They're hard.
Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq.
Probably.
The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts.
Jesus.
And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before.
8 minutes?
Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested.
This is true.
It
They
has
did do
always
this.
been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought
Re-obliterated.
repeatedly to make a deal. We tried.
I mean, we do have to show this. It's like just a good timing to show this. I'm sorry, but we have to. It's like this was a big talking point. This was a big talking point. After the last bombings on the facilities, they were supposed to have been obliterated, and suggestions otherwise are fake news. Okay? And, you know, you have Pete Hegseth down here saying, you know, these bombs at the executive response at East Target worked perfectly. We have obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. Like, when you say this, when you make these statements and say anything otherwise is fake news, and then only a few months later, that's the justification, it's a bad look. It doesn't add up. Everyone here, they say years and years. We said it back years, many years.
They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon...
They're now our good friends and allies. I agree, but that hasn't been the language we've used before.
...reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States...
You know, a little narrative violation, though, is like every, you know, what was it, UK, Germany, France, Canada, Mark Carney, they all came out and said similar things to this. They said Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, like today. So, you know, to be clear, I'm going to narrative violations people in chat. People, I don't like when chat gets too on one side on anything. It pisses me off. Everything's nuanced, and I wish people were more...
Military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces, and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no...
I also want to say, you know, this Schrodinger's nuclear weapon is such a convenient way to justify any war with someone who doesn't have one. It's not that I want the Ayatollah to have a nuclear weapon. It's that we are in a country where we already had this happen with Iraq, where we said there was WMDs, there wasn't, and it was this huge, gigantic clusterfuck, multi-decade clusterfuck. So when this is happening only a few months after, we already said we obliterate. That's what we did. We did distance precision strikes. We don't have to do anything more than that. And now we have to do more. Now it escalates. And that is a domino effect that is dangerous. Of course it's dangerous. Like, it could lead to chaotic expansion of war.
No one should challenge the strength and might of the United States.
Especially because the first time around with Iraq, we had congressional approval. We had, they had to trot out Colin Powell in front of the UN and make a serious case for WMDs. Now, it wasn't true. There wasn't there, but they had to go through the process of getting all the other allied nations and all the other senators on board. And now it's like they're not even informed. It's done by diktat, with an overnight decision by the president. And they just say there's WMDs.
Armed forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Okay, the big speech from the White House as we kicked off military actions in Iran. Now, what order do I want to do this? Because there's a lot we need to get to. Let's start with this. Let's start with this, bro. Where's my... Okay, let's start with this. Look, I got a nuanced view on this, but there's parts of it that are just funny to me that I got to start with. Okay? In 2011, Donald J. Trump said, in order to get elected, Barack Obama will start a war with Iran. In 2012, 1 year later, he said, now that Obama's poll numbers are in a tailspin, watch for him to launch a strike in Libya or Iran. He's desperate. In 2013, 1 year later, he said, remember what I previously said, Obama will someday attack Iran in order to show how tough he is. Tulsi Gabbard, one of his administration, in 2020 said, no war with Iran. This is her during the campaign.
A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for Dick Cheney, and it's a vote for war, more war, likely World War III and nuclear war.
Stephen Miller, during the campaign, said, Liz wants to invade the whole Middle East. Kamala equals World War III. Trump equals peace. We're not going to send your kids to die for wars they would never fight themselves. J.D. Vance, during the 2023 lead up to the election, said, 20 years ago, we invaded Iraq. It cost over $1 trillion. It was an unforced disaster, and I pray we learn its lessons. The GOP ran on the pro-peace ticket. Donald Trump himself came out and said,
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective.
Now, one thing I got to say early in this presentation, because I just think it needs to be known, is I have absolutely zero, not even 1% respect or love or defense in my heart for the Ayatollah of Iran, nor their regime. I support the protesters who tried to overthrow it earlier this year. But I have to go into this. I open with this because this rank hypocrisy undermines exactly what a democracy is supposed to be about. If you run on an anti-war, pro-peace ticket, when you exclaim that going to war to Iran would be a stupid, foolish move, when you spend a lot of your time talking about America's mistakes in Vietnam, Korea, Iraq, Afghanistan, and then you do something that is fundamentally similar, it is a betrayal. It's a betrayal to anyone that voted for you, and it's a betrayal of anything it's supposed to stand for. It's on that level alone, it's disgusting. Okay? So today we have Operation Epic. Also, I think it's dumb to name it Operation Epic Fury. This is petty. This is petty, but for something that has overall been, again, like the thing in Venezuela, I disagree with the kidnapping of Maduro, but I think it was executed quite well. So far, the strikes have been done. They've been the military's been performing quite well. Calling it Epic Fury is millennial cringe. We need a cooler name than this. We're not bringing back Epic. So that's bad. And then he just keeps trying to farm the Obama photo. He just keeps putting out different angles of this Obama photo. So it's just, it's chopped on that front, bro. That being said, we've seen strikes across Iran. It seems very likely that Supreme Leader Khamenei is dead. Ayatollah Khamenei is dead. This has been posted by both American intelligence and Israeli intelligence. And most importantly than all of that, Polymarket basically says it happened. And if you can't trust gambling, who can you trust? Okay? So it's very likely Khamenei is dead. And there are people in Iran. Listen, I have two sources, both embedded in Iran, who have friends and family there too as well. And they have Starlink access to get internet out. And both of them have sent me videos. People are celebrating there. Of course they are, because this guy was terrible, and he did kill 15,000 plus protesters. Needs to be understood, okay? It's what happens next, okay? It's like the same thing with Maduro. It's like I have no support for Nicolas Maduro. It's that we have a long history of failed interventions like this that lead to disastrous consequences down the road. And nobody in the administration, despite bringing them up all the time when they're out of power, seems to ignore it now when they're in power. So let's get into it, okay? These are the strikes. across major targets in Iran. The main things hit were nuclear infrastructure, the leadership, and then military sites of the IRGC. Now, you're probably going to need to know this as we dive more into the history and what's going on in Iran, but there are two military apparatus in Iran. There's the IRGC and the Artesh, which is basically just the Persian word for army, okay? And these are the two. They basically duplicate. The IRGC is the one that supports the Ayatollah directly. They're used for internal control. They have their own navy, their own air force, their own ground forces. And the Artesh is like the traditional Iranian military. They have like a duplicate. They've duplicated everything. And the Artesh is the one that is the biggest question mark here because they theoretically could create or push a new leader. This is who's being targeted. This is who they're trying to kill. This is who they're trying to get out, okay? This is who these guys sort of stood out of the protests, crackdowns, and these are theoretically who could be mobilized for whoever would come next. But I think we're just creating a power vacuum, a massive power vacuum that's going to lead to more chaos, man. I don't see this ending well, but let's zoom out a little bit, okay? I'm going to go back to let's see. These are the strikes. These are the strikes on Iran, and these were Iran's counterstrikes as of this morning. Tehran shot targets in Israel, in Jordan, in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Qatar. There's a U.S. military base and a naval base in Bahrain. And then they hit, some hotels in Dubai. These were the counterstrikes that we saw there. So, hotels and some civilian targets in Dubai. What you need to know, okay? What you need to know, actually, let's just rewind. I'm going to go into a lemonade stand presentation real quick because I feel like to discuss this, people need to know a broader macro view of why so much stuff happens in the Middle East, why we have this long chain of problems, and how far it goes back. So let's switch to that real quick. Okay. So, do you guys know how when you guys know that trope in cartoons and movies when one character is really hungry and they look at their friend and see them as like food? Like this. Like when Garfield is so hungry, so he looks up and you see him as a piece of chicken? Okay. So when the great powers of the world, for over 100 years now, look at the Middle East, this is what they see. This is what they see. They see oil, crude oil, petroleum, oil, natural gas, oil, and oil. The reason that there's been so many foreign entanglements, foreign interests, intervention, chaos, fighting, this is because of the lifeblood of a modern economy, which is oil, is in the Middle East in greater numbers than anywhere else on the earth. It's like a third of global oil reserves are in this one small region, okay? So this is why. Additionally, that would be enough on its own. But on top of that, there are these three important spots, okay? These three straits are hugely important for global shipping because if you want to get something from Europe to Asia or from the Middle East to China, these are important trade routes, okay? It's the Strait of Hormuz, the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, and then the Suez Canal. These three things are incredibly important. And you can see here, 15% of global trade goes through here, 12% through here. 20% of the world's oil passes through this tiny little strait. Pretty much all of the oil that comes from Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, it goes into here and it goes out here and goes to Asia. It's incredibly important. And this tiny little thing can be closed up by Iran at a moment's notice. So this is why there's been so much interest for again, pre-World War I, like forever. This is a long, long period of interest. And that is why the great powers of the world have conspired over time to get deeply involved and try to divide things up and have spheres of influence and make sure they have a partner in the region, because they do not want to allow control of these straits and control of this oil to fall into rival powers' hands. That is why we have this situation, okay? Now, this one I've shown here, I covered up with Great Britain because this is the early version. The modern version, Great Britain is no longer a major power. It's China, okay? Right now, it's US, Russia, and China. Before, it was US, Russia, and Great Britain. But this is the general idea. This is why there's so much influence in the Middle East. And the reason why we have these big state, little state partnerships, all right? The US partnered deeply with Israel because of this projecting power in the Middle East. Now, you can make a very strong case that in the modern day, Israel has become the tail that wags the dog. And they've spent so much money on political influence that they are changing the order of yeah, you can make that case. But I'm talking about geostrategically, this is why the situation is as it is. America's the big bro, little bro with Israel because they want to control these states and have influence on this oil. And Joe Biden himself said his best back in like the 80s.
Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
Okay? It's not, this is just a geopolitical need of a major power. Russia does not ally with Syria because there's a deep love of the Assad regime. Russia allied with Syria because they wanted to be able to project power in the Mediterranean to block the oil pipeline that would have undercut them between Qatar and Turkey and into the Middle East, and because they wanted to have the ability to project power on these straits, okay? That's why when Putin shook hands with Assad, gave him a hug, said we're lifelong partners, and then when the Assad regime fell in 2 weeks, while it was falling, Russia was already negotiating with the next guy. They were already making new commitments to the current Syria because the geostrategic region is more important. It's not who's in power, it is the location. It is the real estate. It is the important part is you have to have this unsinkable aircraft carrier in this case a naval base in this region so that you can have control over these important things. Okay? So Assad fell and now he lives in Russian luxury in Moscow. And again, in Iran, their biggest partner right now is China. China, why do you think China is deeply tying itself economically with Iran? Do you think it's because China has a deep love for the Ayatollah, the Muslim religion, or do you think it's anything of that? Do you think it's a good friendship? Or do you think that maybe the red line here is oil exports from Iran by destination? The red ones are China. Okay? It is their strategic source of oil. Okay? That is why they're signing these massive pacts. That's why they are sending them weapons. Okay? They would like to have a geostrategic ally in the region, as every great power does. This thing goes back to Great Britain. Great Britain did the same thing with almost everybody. So, how do we get to the Ayatollah? How did he get here to begin with? And this is an important question. Because while I despise the Ayatollah, it is worth asking questions of how he got to power to begin with. And like most insane geopolitical stories, it starts with a British man. It starts with a British man, okay? A millionaire playboy British man, okay? By the way, the real guy, his name's William Darcy, doesn't look that different. The real guy doesn't look that different. Do you know what I'm saying? So this guy was a millionaire British socialite from a rich family who made a bunch of money in Australian mining, okay, and didn't know what to do. And he's traveled around the world and he's drinking and he's trying to find some way to turn his money into more money. And this guy, he ends up in what is modern day Iran, then called Persia. And he offers the leader $3.7 million in today's money. I don't know what it was at the time, but $3.7 million in today's money. And he's like, yo, I bet somewhere in this gigantic landmass, there's oil. And if you give me 60 years of oil rights, I'm going to find it. But people thought it's like a desert. It's very hard to search. There's probably no oil out there. Seems like a big waste of time. So the leader goes, LOL deal. You got it. I'll take $3.7 million cash. You can wander the desert, you rich British guy. Okay? And so he starts his search and he wanders all over Persia and he hires people and he burns through all of his money, all of his mining money. He is reduced to almost nothing left and he's about to give up and go home. And he's like, damn, this sucks. But then if you'll post the meme of the guy with the diamonds, because he actually strikes the diamonds. At the end of his time, when he's about to give up, they strike oil. They strike oil in Persia. And all of a sudden, this bad deal starts to look incredible. And he forms the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, and it starts to become this massive, massive profit center. Now, if you guys are students of history, what do you think happened roughly between 1907 and 1950 that might cause a spike in the demand for oil? Something in this, you think it was world peace? You think it was global stability? Turns out it was 2 back-to-back world wars, both of which put enormous demands on British need for oil. So Britain essentially buys out this company, and it becomes not just his company, not William Darcy's company, but the British company. And in fact, you might know it, this company, this Iranian company, you might know it by its modern name, British Petroleum. Okay? So that is this company. But at the time, during the war, it is a British nationalized company, or like as part national ownership, that is designed to get oil for the war effort. And so they start taking oil from Iran and using it for World War I and World War II, where Britain faces a decline of prosperity and power because they get destroyed in the wars. After all this is over, Iran is looking around at this deal it signed, which is still has like decades left on it, and is like, hey, this deal sucks. And it sucks for a lot of reasons. Number one, you are giving us like 16% of the profits. That's what the deal was. You get 16%. All the rest goes to Britain. But worse than that is that you don't give us any insight into how the profit is calculated. So they're doing a little bit of Hollywood accounting. British Petroleum would be like, yeah, our costs are super high. There's barely any profit. Here's 16%. But then they would check what the taxes they were paying in the UK, and it was like millions. And it's like, wait a minute, how are you reporting a different profit number to us than you are in the UK? Okay? So it causes this stress. And so Iran starts demanding oversight into the accounting and at least 25% of the profits. They said, we would ask for 50-50, but we've signed a bad deal, so we asked for 25%. Britain says no. Britain says no fucking dice. The deal's not changing. We're not changing the deal. The deal's the deal. Because again, Britain at the time especially needs this oil. Britain after World War II is a mess. They need everything they can get. And so the pressure this creates on Iran is immense. And it causes the rise of this leader, Mohammad Mossadegh. Mohammad Mossadegh is not anti-West. He's actually pretty pro-United States. You look at his writings and speakings, but he is anti this British deal, okay? And so when he tries to negotiate and is rebuffed, he eventually decides, okay, fuck this. We're nationalizing the oil. And they nationalizes the whole oil company. He kicks the British embassy out of Iran and seizes control of the whole thing. Now, again, I've talked about this with regards to like what happened in Venezuela. This is usually a stupid idea because you don't have the expertise. You take it over. You can't produce the amount of oil you're producing before. Things usually collapse. It's not usually a smart idea to full nationalize. You're trying to get a deal. You're trying to get like a split that allows you to get some control. It's usually not a smart idea. It usually does not work. However, they were kind of forced into a corner because Britain was not negotiating and not giving them oversight. So after he nationalizes, Britain gets really angry because they fucking invested money in it. This is their British Petroleum Company. Now they're fucking pissed. But remember the time period. This is right after World War II. Britain is no longer really, I mean, they're kind of a paper tiger. They're no longer a major military power. They no longer are calling the shots. They no longer have the strength to project power in a way they did. And so they do the next best thing. They go to their big bro. They go to their big bro America and say, get him. Get him. They stole our oil. They stole our oil. You need to go get him. And Truman, who's president at the time, says, LOL, no. And he specifically says, just give them a 50% deal. He's like, it's not that big of a deal. You're making a ton of money on it. Just give them a 50% deal. That would have been a great solution. Okay? But unfortunately for the way the world played out, he was soon out of office. And right after that, he's replaced, okay, by Eisenhower. And Eisenhower gets into office, and the British go to him and say, get him! And they have a new strategy this time. And this is literally their strategy. You can find the communiques. They said, we're going to really paint him as a communist. This is the beginning of the Cold War. And so they paint Mohammad Mossadegh as a communist. Now, I'm not saying he didn't, he had some Soviet ties or whatever, but in my understanding, based on the way he was governing, he didn't have a long tenure. He wasn't communist. He was actually pretty friendly to America. They say, get him, he's communist. Anyway, Eisenhower, he's afraid of any expansion of communism. This is the early Cold War. They don't want it, they want to hold the line everywhere. So he says, okay. Okay? He says, okay. And so he approves a thing called Operation Ajax, which is a CIA undercover operation to try to overthrow Mohammad Mossadegh. They send in, now it's not very well funded. Again, it's like $100,000 and like a few men. And one of them is named Kermit Roosevelt, who literally is like the great grandnephew of one of the Roosevelts. I'm not kidding. Okay? This guy goes in, Kermit Roosevelt, and he tries to overthrow Mohammad Mossadegh. And then he fails. He fails. He sends a letter back and he's like, bro, I couldn't do it. They're like, all right, come home. And then after they tell him to come home, he's like, wait a minute, I got one more shot. And he gives some of the money to some group. Again, you have to understand, there's a book about this from the Iranian perspective. It's a very complicated time there with a lot of different factions fighting for control. I don't want to simplify it and Americanize it and say one guy came in and changed everything. But he provides a spark to a tinderbox that helps a rival faction push to get control, okay? And it works. And so he sends a follow-up letter. He's like, yo, actually it worked, bro. My second attempt worked, which is right away really a bad thing because this is the first time the send some money and a guy in and try to overthrow the government thing actually worked for the CIA. And it becomes their strategy for like 3 decades after this because of this works. If this had not worked, they were like about to abandon the idea. But because this worked, they were like, oh, this meta could work. So anyway, because this works and the Mossadegh gets overthrown, he is replaced with the Shah. This is the Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi. I'm not sure I pronounced it correctly, but this is the Shah. And he takes over after Mohammad Mossadegh. Now, what's interesting is even though this whole thing was started by the British, they're still pissed because once the Shah takes power, he's still like, hey, listen, bro, I'm more pro-West than I'm here for their interests, but everybody's so pissed about the British Petroleum thing, I can't change the rules. So Britain never gets back BP. They never get back the ownership. They get a small percentage of the output, but like it's less than they would have gotten if they just taken 50-50. So again, this has been a huge disaster for Britain. All of this has combined to give them less than they could have gotten just by negotiating. The Shah is a complicated figure, okay? On terms of like domestic and social policy, in some ways, he's progressive. Like, again, you see these photos from pre-revolution Iran where, you know, women can wear whatever they want. There's thriving universities. There's some part of him is progressive. However, in terms of domestic control, he's actually a tyrant. He has a Savak personal police force. This is like a Gestapo type thing. And he has brutal crackdowns on political opponents. He has like private prisons that he tortures people in. Like overall, a horrendous reign. Okay, it's very politically repressive, I guess. If you're not a political opponent, it's like a pretty decent time in Iran because their economy is doing pretty well and there's opening up of freedoms. But political opponents are brutally repressed. Okay, and this leads to a even bigger political turmoil in Iran, where all these different groups, let's say angry students, angry religious groups who are mad about this, there are angry factions of the military, there are all these different angry groups in Iran, and they combine to do the revolution of the 70s. I think it's 79. And there's a big revolution in Iran where they want to take back the country. Now, what's interesting is all of these groups have different goals for what Iran should look like, but they all agree to shake hands and figure it out when it's over. And this turns out to be a massive problem, okay? This turns out to be a massive problem. Because the students, like for example, there's a massive student movement. The students primarily wanted to get rid of this repressive part, keep this part, and maybe even open the country up to democracy. But this guy, the Ayatollah, primarily wanted a repressive theocracy. And it turns out after it's over, after they got rid of the Shah and he fled, these guys win. The repressive theocracy wins primarily because they have these, you know, they have mosques all over the country. They have a distributed power network. They have the most established way of communicating quickly, and like they have a command structure. And so these guys win. And all of a sudden, all the other groups that thought they were getting a better Iran, in fact, get an equal, or I think likely a worse Iran. I would say a worse Iran. And so all of a sudden you go from this to this, and you have a repressive top-down theocracy controlled by the Ayatollah and the IRGC, okay? That's where we got to. Now, the founding myth of this guy's rise to power is that, hey, the Shah was this repressive Western interest, and we took him down. So it becomes a deep part of the culture of this new ruler of Iran to be like, death to the West, death to America, because that's who they were fighting to get rid of. I mean, the Shah was also bad. The Shah was also bad. So again, we're almost caught up, by the way, because until recently, the Ayatollah was alive. Not the second Ayatollah. This guy's been dead, but the guy right after him with the same name. And we're almost caught up. So that is how we got to where we are. Understand that Iran has gone through multiple revolutions, multiple regime changes, and a ton of foreign meddling. And they have not had a good leader in there. They're getting bad leader, bad leader, bad leader, bad leader. Okay? The last time they had a democratically elected leader was Mohammad Mossadegh, which got overthrown with its CIA involvement. So you can understand why this became where it is, okay? So that brings us to today, okay? That brings us to today. So why now? Why are we striking Iran now? So a big part of it is that Iran's strategy for a while to project power has been they don't want to do combat on their own. They don't want to actually fight directly, but they have a ton of money from oil. They get an absolutely absurd amount of money from oil, so they fund proxies. So they've been funding proxies in Lebanon, in Syria, and in Yemen. And then over time, again, this is like in our life, in our recent memory, in the past few years, basically kind of like since Israel's been going hard on it since post October 7th, one by one, Hezbollah in Lebanon got defeated or neutralized. Assad's regime in Syria fell, and the Houthis in Yemen got kind of neutralized. Okay? So all of these got knocked out, and that has left Iran with a lower oil price and no proxies. And so now they're as weak as they've ever been. And then at the same time, because their economy is under severe strain, part of it is sanctions, 100%, but a part of it is the immense corruption of the IRGC. Again, you can find examples. I don't know if I have slides in here, but the sons and the daughters of the leaders of the IRGC are all enormously wealthy. They all live overseas. They live in Dubai, or they live in London, or they live in, okay? You have to understand that both things can be true, okay? You can be totally against wars of aggression, and you have to understand there's deep, deep, deep corruption in this country. Okay? So the IRGC controls, again, actually the IRGC kind of loves the sanctions because they control all economic activity now. They own the black market, and so they get rich off that, and they've corruptly taken all the money out of the country. So because they did that, Iran has had an absolutely horrible economy combined with the sanctions. And that caused, in the past month, a massive revolution of regular protesters who are not really political at all, protesting the economic conditions of Iran. There was it started with people in Tehran, like the bazaar, like the shopkeepers in Tehran, because the currency has gone to shit. It's collapsed. So because of that, they protested all over the country, and there was a brutal, massive crackdown where at least 15,000, as many as 30,000 plus protesters were killed. Okay? All of this combined to make the Iranian regime as weak as it's been since the 70s, like since it started. It's never been more weak. It's never been more on edge. It's never been more on death's door. And so that is why the strike is happening now. Just so you're caught up to today. I want you to, so far it's just facts to understand what's going on. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of like what this might mean and why. But I hope that helps you understand like how we got here and why different parties in different areas have their beliefs. And they're all based in truth. Okay? Okay, let's get into it. And a couple of things to just verify what I was saying. Couple things to verify what I was saying. You can find, again, there's an enormous amount of like videos of IRGC children with supercars in Dubai and buying global property in London. And this guy's the Ayatollah's son has £100 million global property network on Billionaires Row in London. It all comes from IRGC corruption. Okay? So, that brings us to where we are now. Where'd my slides go? With a couple things I was talking about, with political. So, there's a lot of reasons to be pissed about this attack, though. Despite, let me take that. What is the book referencing earlier? I'll pull it for you. The economic conditions comes from sanctions. I'll just listen. I want to talk about this because I think. Can I pull this up? It's not showing up. No, it's just like when you're talking about something serious, you're going to get a fucking crazy chat. But I actually want to talk about this stuff. The truth is, there absolutely is extreme sanctions on Iran. But I think when you say this, you are implicitly giving air cover to the deep, deep corruption of the IRGC. And that's why I don't like it. Do you understand? You need to be able to contain in your mind two thoughts. And if you can't do that, you become kind of like this political simpleton. You need to understand that two things can be true. You can actually be against both the Ayatollah and Trump. If you can't do that, there's no point discussing with you. Like if you can't, so I'm just trying to get that across to you. I'm trying to make that clear because it's actually pretty easy for me to do, but I understand it's like a political minefield for some people. So anyway, the political firestorm back in America is an area that I really want to talk about because people I've supported on this stream are making incredible points that I do agree with, including Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, which is that, listen, it's not our issue whether or not we should not be trying to do regime change. It doesn't matter what the Ayatollah's record is. It's like, imagine it's so crazy because in America, it feels like it's a question we have to ask. But if you were in Brazil and your leader was like, yeah, it's so bad, the Ayatollah, we should send our jets in and get rid of them. Like any other country would be like, it makes no sense for us to send our army in. Do you know what I'm saying? So the idea that that's a reason is foolish. And that's not why it's being done, by the way. Why it's being done is there's geopolitical reasons, but I'll get to that. So the idea that we as USA need to do that, even if that's your rationale, which is not the true rationale, is stupid. It makes no sense, okay? And again, we have to look at the track record. The track record of trying this type of stuff is mostly disaster. Mostly, and this is a bigger country, a more populated country than this has been tried on before. The idea that Iran is just going to peacefully transition to a new power that is going to be amenable to what Donald Trump wants, and there's not going to be any chaos in the country. It's absurd. And more likely, it's like a long period of chaos, instability, creating more resentment. Do you understand? Like these are the more likely outcomes. So additionally, on a very basic level, we have a War Powers Act in America that is supposed to put the power of this with Congress. And again, previous presidents have abided by this. Donald Trump has declared the War Powers Act unconstitutional. Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna put up a vote. Now, they brought a bill 2 days ago saying that they would like to amend the War Powers Act to prevent war in Iran. But Congress doesn't meet until Wednesday. So it's a very convenient timing for this war to happen. It's a very convenient timing for this war to happen right before Congress could meet and try to limit their capability of doing this war. How is the Constitution unconstitutional? Wait, what do you mean? Additionally, as a citizen, as an American citizen, not everybody here is an American citizen, but if you're an American citizen, it is important to want our representatives to vote on this because it lets you know who supported it and who didn't. It lets you be on record. Okay, that's why we have these elected representatives. If it is all done by dictation from one man, the president, you don't get to know where your representative stands on whether they are for or against in writing on this war. These are things we need to happen. That way it allows you as a citizen to vote for the actions that you want. And again, I want to bring this back to recent examples even. So a smaller military action in Venezuela was where we kidnapped Maduro. And people said, it was in and out, we're done, and the people of Venezuela are celebrating. And again, I'm no fan of Maduro. But what has happened in Venezuela since then? We just put his second in command in charge to take the oil out. The repression in Venezuela has intensified. There has been no great freedom for the people of Venezuela. So I don't believe it when you say this is going to be a great freedom from the Ayatollah in Iran. I don't believe that this, your mission is to free people from the repression of their leaders. I feel like your main goal is to switch it out for someone else who will do your bidding around oil. That's the main thing I think is the main goal here. It's not that I don't think the original goal would be noble. It's that I don't think that's your real goal. I don't trust you. It reminds me of this frustrating conversation I have around government efficiency, where I talk about like, hey, we have this massive deficit. We have to address it. And you're like, well, then why don't you support Elon Musk and Doge? And it's like, because I don't fucking trust him. And I was right. He didn't do anything. Do you understand? Like, so it's like people try to use the ideals as a, like, well, he's saying the same ideal as you. Why don't you want to get rid of the Ayatollah with Trump? And it's like, I don't trust him. I don't think his goals are actually noble. I don't think they're aligned with mine. And I don't think he's actually going to do what he says he is. That's like the core principle of what I'm saying. It's like, and then when you look at all of their words and actions leading up to it, I just get a sense of deep hypocrisy of doing this for reasons that are not what you purport them to be. I think that's the main catch up. Now, that being said, it's happened, right? I will say we need to talk about like the next steps. What does this mean? Because the strikes are happening and very likely they're successful. I think the Ayatollah is dead. And I think based on the deep weakness of the regime, the likelihood of many Iranians wanting to change power, and the intelligence and strikes of the attacks, it seems likely that we will see the collapse of the IRGC and the Ayatollah. I think that is a likely situation. So what does that mean? I talked to this guy in Iran, all right? He's a younger guy. And he says his hopeful outcome, and this is what they're pushing, is that the son of the Shah comes in. Where is it? Where's And it's like I respect this guy's opinion when he's telling me this, but like, are we not seeing parallels? Like, if the first Shah had a brutal crackdown and then led to the revolution the first time and the Ayatollahs, why are we doing a regime change to the second Shah, the Shah's son? I understand it could be a different man. I understand he could have learned a lesson, but this is crazy to me. This is crazy to me. And so my bigger worry is that this guy goes into a deeply divided, snake cut off the head Iran, and it's just chaos. It's just chaos and factionalism and infighting and disaster. And the two outcomes from that are either America walks away and just leaves a smoking ruin, or they send boots in the ground and we're dragging another 10-year quagmire, 20-year quagmire. Like, these are two outcomes if this goes badly. And without a vote or any type of input on the process, it just becomes Trump deciding this. These are the problems I'm finding with this whole fucking situation. Is the negative outcomes seem way higher than the good outcomes, and then the good outcomes, there's no real justification to go for those in the first place. Okay, you don't have the universal right to go in and try to make those good outcomes you want. You don't have the authority of God. So that's why I'm against this. And I've had this conversation. Like, I've been talking to some people in Iran, because I have to tell you guys, I have to be honest with you. The two people I've talked to in Iran are both supportive of this. And I think people who are too simple-minded on this are not being honest enough about how horrible it is under this regime in Iran. But I know that, and I'm still, after thinking about it, not supportive of these attacks. It's a little more of a nuanced position. I think you are allowed to have both. Do they have internet? They have to use Starlink satellites to get destroyed, but yes. Okay? That is the trap of the situation. But I'm trying to explain my thoughts on it. And again, this is all happening today. I'm sure my thoughts will evolve as I think about it and learn more. The takeaways, though. Okay, here's the takeaways. So, is this just a distraction? No, I think that's a convenient bonus for Trump. But geostrategically, there are forces within the Pentagon and outside of just Trump that have been pushing for this. And in Israel, by the way. And I wanted to tell you how there's some impacts, okay? So let's connect some dots. Let's see if I have this, okay? Let's connect some dots. Remember this graph? Nope, that's the wrong one. Remember this graph? This is Iranian exports to China. They are China's one of China's largest oil suppliers. So now, if Iran had a different leadership, that would be a huge control over China's ability to get oil. Remember Venezuela? Who do you think Venezuela exported their oil to? It was China. Have you heard about what's going on in Panama? America has pressured Panama to cut off Chinese access to two major ports there. If you connect the dots, this also applies to Greenland. This also applies to every other major military or political event they've been going on. The real connect the dot here is China. What's happening is a giant buildup between, again, this multipolar world of America and China over control over resources, trade routes, and oil. That is what's happening, okay? Like, that is the undercurrent of all of these actions. And again, the reason I can make that claim is because it's not Donald Trump designing this grand plan. Donald Trump is signing off on things. He is not his. This is the Pentagon's plan to try and build up a resource war over China. Okay, and so that is the prep. That's what's been happening. And additionally, Iran is a major supplier of drones that Russia uses in its war with Ukraine. So there's that angle to it as well. And that's the buildup we're getting to, which is not a positive thing because, like I said, these are the dominoes that fall before a big major global conflict. This is the type of thing you hear about leading up to World War I. These are the kind of like fracturing connections that build up to larger global conflicts. And that's what I think is happening here. So again, there is no idea how this will play out. My estimation is that they're going to try to put this guy in, and he's going to have a lot harder time. That's the worst arrow ever drawn. Controlling the country than they think. And I think this is going to be more of a disaster than they think. But I don't know how it's going to play out. But these are like the undercurrents that, like, I don't think the main obvious headlines are talking about. There's a bigger geopolitical play going on. And Iran, I think, is the centerpiece of like the capstone of what they've been doing behind the scenes. That's what I got for today on this subject. I'm going to be talking about it a lot, probably on LS and here on more. There's more to say, but that's the main. I can ask some questions, but this is the fresh thing for today. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you was this. So is Trump stupid to have a plan? I think Trump is stupid. Don't get me wrong. I think the Pentagon has some sort of plan, but it remains to be seen because China has its own plans, bro. I think what is happening, if you were to really zoom out on it, is all of these actions are an attempt to use the leverage America has militarily while it still can. Because economically, China's gunning. You know what I'm saying? The ability to manufacture, China's gunning. And so right now, while America still has military leverage, it's like clamping down Venezuela, clamping down Iran, trying to clamp down Greenland, trying to gain control of trade routes and oil. Why does China feel so idle? This is a great question. And the first thing I did was try to figure out what China's response to this would be. I've been Googling all morning trying to see if China's made any public statement because China's response is big. But I think China's strategy is avoid direct conflict because they know time is on their side. Honestly, I think China knows that the worst thing they could do is try to get in any kind of conflict over Iran or anything else, because the longer they wait, the more America is kind of self-imploding. We have these deep political divisions, huge factionalism, and we have a massive, what's the opposite of being ahead? We're massively behind in manufacturing. Our manufacturing capability has been completely eroded. And so the longer they go, the more they can get, advantages in robotics and things that are I think they're doing a do nothing strategy, which is why they didn't do anything about Venezuela, didn't do anything about Iran so far. And again, they're making they've known this is coming, and they've made a concerted effort to get off of oil. Now, no country in the world is off of oil, but they've made a concerted effort to, they have this EV push and everything. So it's a battle, bro. I'm not saying China's made no mistakes either. It's just complicated. There's a lot going on. But I would say China's strategy is more wait and see. And their priority, if they did anything militarily, would be Taiwan. China's not going to do anything in Iran or Venezuela or Greenland or anything other than Taiwan. Taiwan's their number one. And that could happen 27, 28, bro. It's not crazy, especially if America actually gets locked down in the Middle East. Any idea where you think the price of a barrel is headed? It depends on this week. So yeah, great segue question, actually. Because I don't think I got to cover this as well as I wanted to. It's hard when you make the presentation and deliver it same day, bro. It's like the order. I think all the information was in there, but the order, you have to usually I practice it once. Where's my Strait of Hormuz chart? Yeah, right here. Okay, perfect. This. Nope, this one. So right here, this is a 3D map of the Middle East. This tiny little spot, it's 21 miles wide. A fifth of the world's oil goes through here every day, okay? It is so important. And Iran has the capability to mine this up and block it. And when they do it, it's a massive cutoff of the world's oil, and oil prices spike instantly. It's never been completely sealed, by the way. This is a threat they have, but they haven't done it. Now, they did say they're closing it. And all of the tankers that are going this way and this way have turned around as of today. If it stays closed, you will see oil prices go way up. They're up like 10% now just on the threat. If they mine this up and it's closed off, yeah, it'll be massive increases in gas prices. That being said, what's interesting is the majority of this oil goes to Asia. Now, it will increase the global oil price no matter what, but cutting this off cuts off China more than anyone. It's more of a China cutoff. And again, if oil prices go up, this is why it's all interconnected. If oil prices go up, the biggest beneficiary right now is Russia. Because first of all, Russia sells primarily to China, so they would be able to sell more to China. And then also, they get to afford their war more. Low oil prices have been super damaging for Russia. So it's all connected, bro. It's all connected. There's negative and positive effects for both sides on each major event. Wouldn't that cause China to interfere? It just seems like China will not interfere. This is what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying. I do think, I was like, wow, wouldn't China want to protect their oil interests in Iran? But it just seems like China's strategy is it's like, I don't know, dude. They just know that a conflict is a military conflict is the one area where America could win. Do you know what I'm saying? If they just avoid the military conflict, America is self-imploding. They would just quietly support, they'll still send money and troops, but I think they know. I think they're not. By the way, I think that's a right assessment. I think if China tried to start a World War III right now, they're certainly not. I think that would be a bad look. I think America's military is very strong right now. But I think America is way more fucked domestically, politically, economically. We're falling behind on a lot of things. These are the areas where America needs to get its shit together. That's why I think like we need a true president who focuses on domestic issues. And I never trusted him, but some people who voted for him trusted him, and Trump promised that, and he lied. He hasn't. We need a president who's like seriously focused on getting us back on track to real growth, to real wealth distribution, to real prosperity, because that's when America was strongest. Like that's what really won the Cold War more than anything militarily. How are we planning to achieve regime with boot on the ground? It's a good question. So their strategy, as it seems to be, is that they bomb all of the key IRGC sites throughout the country, and maybe some schools, although that is still unverified. And then the people rise up, because the people rose up in January and got close. But then there was one of the most brutal crackdowns of any administration in history. I mean, it was like a truly brutal crackdown. That's the idea. And they think those people will rise up, and then they will put the Shah's son into power, and that person will be amenable to interest. That is the plan that they are trying to push forward. It's a giant question mark. I'm going to say it's a huge fog of war, and I don't know what'll happen. I'm not going to even make a call. But I just can't see it. I can't see the Shah coming in and it's just like, oh, it's good. I just don't see it, bro. I don't see it. I think this plan is gonna just be. I just think Iran's gonna devolve into fucking chaos. But I don't know. I'll have to see. I'm not gonna make a call because that's beyond my scope. I've seen this video. It's great. Sarah Payne's great. We could watch this sometime, but yeah, I think this is literally the most likely outcome, is that different factions within Iran, it just evolves into different factional infighting, which is worse, if you can believe it, than the Ayatollah. It's worse. That's like failed state Sudan level, or Syria, or that is the worst possible outcome. But I don't know. I can't. That's not for me to predict. But it seems dangerous. What if the U.S. just fails to do enough damage? That's also possible. Without boots on the ground, there's only so much you can bomb, right? And if they just bomb some of the leaders, the other leaders are still alive, the people don't really rise up, or they're afraid to rise up, or the crackdowns commence, then the IRGC just stays in power. And what, is Trump going to ask for boots on the ground? I'll tell you this. This is how I know, because on the American political side, Trump is already cooked for the midterms based on current polling prior to this Iran stuff. He's already cooked. His polling is terrible. Every recent election has gone massively against him, even in counties that were like plus 17 Trump. If they were held, if the midterms were held. So I am more concerned at this point about his increasing discussion of emergency powers to stop the midterms, or like that stuff is starting to become more and more salient, because the polling is terrible, and I promise you this Iran stuff is not going to change that. It's going to make it worse. American people, while some of them will be like rallying behind this because military or whatever, this is not what American people are looking for right now. We are in a affordability crisis. This Iran stuff's another foreign war, another distraction. This will hurt his polling again. If any Americans die in this, I think some already have, hurts his polling. None of this is going to help him politically. Gas prices will go up. No, it's all cooking him more. So it just backs him more into a corner of having to cheat. And that's my biggest concern domestically, is that this Iran war is just another step towards emergency powers or some other fucking way of dismantling the election. I truly think that more and more, because it's not like if it was if the numbers were close, I think they might gamble, but they're going to lose. They're going to lose the midterms badly. If they are held. What's the best outcome? Let's stream for a bit. What's the best outcome? Let's paint a picture. What is the best outcome here? I'm serious. I think the best outcome would be, okay, the Ayatollah is dead. The Iranian people revolt on their own. They bring a new leader, probably not the Shah, and establish a new provisional government that holds elections. That would be the first thing, okay? That would be a nice thing in Iran. The second thing would be America holds elections, and this party in power is rightfully punished for declaring unilateral tariffs against the Constitution, for declaring war against the Constitution, for killing civilians in protests, for masked ICE officers, for all the million reasons, okay? And there's a huge sweep that leads to increased pressure on the release of the Epstein files, that leads to possible impeachment or censorship, that leads to at least a lame duck last 2 years of presidency that limits his powers to do these crazy things. That would be a great outcome. None of these things are impossible that I said, but they are like, I don't know what dice odds I'd give them, but it's like just one face of the dice. It's one face of the dice. They're not impossible. These are all things that could happen. So it can go bad, it can go good. And part of it is what we do, right? I am super emboldened and hopeful by the actions of Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna consistently. I have to say this. I really am. Those two people are making me hopeful because they disagree on so much and they have worked together so well. Not just on Epstein files, but now they're moving fast on the War Powers Act to try and limit his ability to do these kind of Iran wars. They are getting great coverage from it. Republicans even are supporting Massie. I'm seeing like Republican voters. Like they're not buying he's a traitor and he's not, like they're not. They're like, he's getting support among conservative-minded people. And it's, I'm seeing the James Tallarico. He's getting a huge support for his different vision of religion. That is like, it's not about deeply intertwining with the state. I'm seeing positive movement. I do think the seeds of, future good growth are sown in the chaos and disaster of the present. And I'm not like a doomer. I'm not like an overall doomer, but I just, I'm not like such a bloomer that it's like, it's going to be an easy route and everything's gonna be great. I think the 2020s are just going to be the worst fucking decade, man. That's what I think. I've always thought this. I think the 2020s are going to be a horrible fucking decade. I think after that, we're going to fucking fix things up. What are the worst odds? All right, here's the worst odds. Here's the bad face of the dice, right? The bad face is that, actually, there's really two bad outcomes. One is that the Ayatollah's regime is not deposed and their crackdowns get more brutal. The people of Iran get no respite and they're still getting bombed. Nothing changes in Iran and America has to try and send boots on the ground troops to try and fix Trump's mistake. That leads to, at best, a massive, Iran is a massive country, 90 million people. There's no way to do what we did in Iraq even. So that's terrible. That could lead to World War III. You know what I'm saying? So that's a horrible outcome. But domestically, the worst outcome is that Trump declares a national emergency and suspends the midterms. And I think, I don't know if you guys saw, he had a quote today. This one. Okay. This is crazy, bro. He keeps saying so many fucking things. Like, the answer to this question should be no. The answer to this question should be no.
Sir, are you considering a national emergency around the midterm elections? There's been reporting that there's an executive order, proposed executive order about this. Are you looking at that? Are you considering that?
Like, asking who told you that when someone says that's and he said, yeah, he said Ukraine does it, why can't me? He said maybe we should consider a third term. He said all these things kind of half joking, but he says them over and over and over. And that's what he did before, the actions on Greenland and everything else. So this is the worst case scenario. This is my doomsday scenario for domestic politics. If we don't have a midterm election, then things can get really bad, of course. I truly think he's a deeply unpopular president, getting more so by the day. And if we have an election, he will become a lame duck and then get out. I think that's the way it'll go. That's my honest base case. But if he doesn't have an election, then it's worse. Then it's really bad. Atrioc, honest question. Do you think the reason, or what was your question? I thought it was a good question. Not to be judgmental, but do you think you don't feel like a doomer as much due to being financially in a better position than the average American? I'm absolutely sure that's part of it. But my honest answer to you would be to look at history. There have been many times in history that have been more disastrous than we are currently in. People are acting like it's the worst time in history right now. It's not. If you were somebody your age in the Great Depression prior to World War II, you had a much worse fucking time, okay? The overall trend of humanity is an upward sloping sine curve like this, okay? This is true. The worst situation to be in the modern age would be way better than the best situation in like 200 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Standard of living goes up. So I truly believe that we are just in a we're entering this part. We are in a bad period. We are in a part where systems break down, leaders are bad. We need a change. We need new rules. We need all that stuff. This is what happened in the breakdown of the global order around World War II. This has happened before. It's kind of a fourth turning situation. I'll be honest with you. I'm a big fourth turning guy. So I do think that there's a lot to be hopeful for in the future in our full lifetimes. But I'm not hopeful so much about the 2020s. I'm just not. Do you think it's possible Trump makes a deal with Iranian regime elements like he did in Venezuela? Set up a Delcy Rodriguez? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It's totally possible. There's a new leader of the IRGC who seizes control of the country and negotiates with Trump. And they just acquiesce on oil requests and like American presence in the Strait of Hormuz. It's possible. But, I just want you to understand what a deep, deep betrayal that would be for what he's saying right now to the Iranian people. He's saying, this is a mission to rid you of your horrible leadership and you've been yearning for freedom. And if he does what he does in Venezuela, which is like, we changed nothing, but I get what I want. It's a horrible thing to do. It's a horrible thing to do. If it makes you feel better, my mom said today, is there anything young people do besides complain? I thought she might be onto something. I never thought about it like that. Damn, that shit pissed me off, bro. Damn. Wait, she kind of spitting though. Wait, I never thought about that. W mom. Yeah, I don't know. Boomer attitudes piss me off. And just the fact that, 6 out of every 10 tax dollars we take go to fucking boomers makes me furious. Your restrictions don't include Israel's goals? That's true. We can talk about Israel too. So Israel's goals are to become the premier hegemon of the Middle East. They want to have military primacy in the Middle East. And they are largely influential in getting the U.S. to help them do this, 100%. And the real question comes down to, and I think there's arguments you can make both ways. I mean, people, there's fucking American politicians with Israeli flags outside their office. It makes no sense. It's crazy. It comes down to whether or not the tail is wagging the dog, right? Whether it's America's larger goals of strategic superiority over China and controlling the things, or if it's whether this is America being used to help Israel's goals. It could also be in some ways both. But I do think the Pentagon at the end of the day is still doing this as part of their larger plan around Venezuela, all the different oil producing nations and China. I think that is the larger reason, but I do think Israel is has used money to gain undue influence over the American political process. 100%. 100%. Do you think launching this war on Friday was an intentional swing to the stock market collapsing? So what's funny is I don't even think stocks are going to go too crazy on this. It depends. So many things have happened that stocks have just shrugged off. I think they're going to shrug this off. I'm not sure this will go crazy. Maybe it will. I think they did this on this weekend. I mean, for a lot of reasons. There's more than just this, but I think one of the reasons they were so urgent about it was because there's a War Powers Act vote next week. And if the War Powers Act vote passed, it would directly limit his ability to do this. Like the War Powers Act vote is specifically about not letting Trump do this on Iran. So I think that is a bigger timing reason. But, everything indicates it's been planned for a little while. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just like, they've been moving troops to surround Iran for now going on weeks and weeks and weeks. Doesn't the president need to go through Congress to declare war? Normally. You're right, normally. Sneezy J, you're asking a very fair question that a lot of members of Congress are asking right now. Normally he does. They've sort of abandoned that. They just stopped. Was the Anthropic deadline a factor? I will say personally, and again, I said cancel ChatGPT earlier, and I got a presentation on this I want to talk about. I don't think it's had anything to do with it at all. I don't think Anthropic had even 1% to do with anything related to what happened in Iran. I think it's a small scale. What about LeBron? I think LeBron James was a huge part of this. I think the fact that LeBron James only has a year left in his career tops, he's kind of an aging superstar, is causing America to kind of lash out militarily while they still have basketball dominance, premier dominance. You know what I'm saying? Escalation ability. I think that's a great question, Ludwig. Thank you for asking. And I just don't think Bronny James gets us as far in the Middle East. You know what I'm saying? Once LeBron's out and we have to go with the Bronny level military attack, I just think he's his strike capabilities are a lot weaker. He's athletic. He's good in the paint, but he's undersized. Oh, dude, wait. Can I just get a fucking parade truck for a second? Can I just get a fucking parade truck? I made a video called "The Kingpin Strategy is Failing." And who the fuck? 2 days later, where is this? I fucking posted it in the here. Look at the big read in the FT. By the way, please go deep dive the FT and see if they said this anything beforehand. I didn't get anything from the FT from my fucking video. My video was a huge compilation of sources, including Ari's mom, people in Mexico. This was the fucking FT. Well after my video. Well after my video. How fucking badass is that, bro? That's awesome. That is awesome. Because this is one of the things I read. It's my daily driver. I didn't even use the FT. And I hit the same fucking takeaway. That's awesome. Maybe they just watched Big A and they yoinked, bro. And you read the thing, and it's like it's the high level points that I'm hitting. That's awesome. That makes me feel good about the video. And then wait, there was one more thing. While we're on the subject, wait. I have one more thing. I'm fucking glazing myself, but this is crazy too. Wait, where did I put it? Come on, please. Dude, where did I put it? No, I have to find this. It was so beast. Per Atrioc, the obvious thing is obvious. Okay, Carpe Diem, why don't you find me someone else who said it? Find me anyone else on fucking Twitch who made a video about the Kingpin strategy and broke down its previous attempts and why it did it. Why don't you find me anyone else? Find me a fucking YouTube video about it before me, okay? Son of a bitch. Everyone says it's obvious after it's fucking out, and I do it. And no one else has done it, okay? What about this one? I want to pull up, where the fuck is this, okay? Dude, come on. Please let me find this. It was so perfect. If I don't find it, I'm going to fucking cry. Dude. Give me, just stare for 1 second. Just please stare for 1 second while I find this, okay? If I don't find it, I'm going to be thinking about it the whole time. Come on. I don't even want to describe it to you because it won't be as fun as seeing it. It was so perfect. Maybe it's in screenshots. Maybe I just screenshotted it. That's my last hope. Maybe I just screenshotted it. Nah, I'm just gonna have to kill myself, I guess. So, I guess that's fucking it for me, because I'll never be able to find it, even though it was so cool. Oh my God. Why don't I just save these things somewhere that I can actually find them? Why don't I do that? Dude, I got fucking 300 slides open. I can't fucking find anything. Wait. Here's what I'll do. There's maybe one chance I have in my fucking head. You know, I haven't done any fucking content, and now going on 5 minutes. I'm sorry. If I don't find it soon, I promise I will give up. But I'll be thinking about it the whole time. I'll be distracted. Now we're getting so far from where I wanted to be. Dude, I'm not gonna be able to find it. This is such a fucking pain in the ass. Dude. I have the hardest. What is he searching for again? You guys, when you see it, it's going to be not even worth it at this point. Oh, man. Dude, I thought I had this ready. I was thinking about sharing it with you. And now I can't. Oh, yes. Wait. No. No, never mind. Sorry. Oh, come on. I'm so mad. Does anyone want to help me find this? All right. I give up. I give up. I have literally like 700 fucking bookmarks and I have all these things and I just didn't. Oh, wait. I know. Wait, I have one more place it could be. And if I don't find it there, then I promise chat I will have a pizza party for everyone in chat. Okay? I will have a pizza party. It's going to be awesome. And you're going to be so stoked about it. And we're going to go Poggy's Pizza. And you're going to go fucking crazy. And I have literally one place left to check. Oh. Wait, maybe it's in my Discord slop trough. No pineapple. It'll be a no pineapple pizza party. No, it's not here. All right, I give up. Stupid fucking thing. God damn it. I have such bad OPSEC. All right, well, I guess we'll have the pizza party then. I guess we're pizza partying. Describe it. It's just not as fun when I describe it. It's not going to feel as cool when I describe it. It was like pretty fucking awesome for me when I saw it. But it's not going to feel as cool if I describe it. All right, you know what? I'm going to describe it so someone can find it for me. But if you find it, I will give you a sub or something. Here's the idea, okay? Here's what it was. There was a guy who wrote a piece called China and the US are undergoing a massive divorce. And he's talking about how that is the major story of our time, how there's this big decoupling and bipolar order. Okay? He wrote this piece. Then the New York Times or something wrote a piece called China and the US are going through a massive divorce. And he quoted their piece and he was like, hey, if you're going to use my shit, at least take credit, right? And then I was like, when did you, this sounds familiar. So I looked it up and both his piece and the piece came out after my video called China and the US are going through a massive divorce. like I was before both of them. But I can't I was literally, I saved the fucking picture. I thought it was so funny. Anyway. This would have been fine if I had just rattled it off instantly. But now it took forever. Wait, Iran confirmed? Dude, why are you linking me VG.no as a confirmation? Please get me a better source than VG.no as a confirmation that Ayatollah Khamenei is dead. There must be a better source than that. Al Jazeera? This is just Trump saying, oh, Iranian media confirms Khamenei's been killed. Bets confirmed. Anyone who took the under on the 96%, you just lost. So that was a good call. Yeah, he's dead. The guy sent me a bunch of videos of people celebrating. I mean, I think people really don't fuck with him, bro. Yeah, he's not a good. But you know, what happens next is the real question. He was a goat at tweets, though. R.I.P. Oh my God! Wait, he does have crazy tweets, doesn't he? Doesn't he have one about like how I was a little naughty and playful? Wait, who has the Khomeini tweet from like 2013 where he's like, I used to wear a jacket to school and everyone made fun of me, but then I was a little naughty and playful. He had the craziest Twitter account. No, you guys think I'm joking. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I went to school with a cloak since first days. Was uncomfortable to wear it in front of other kids, but I tried to make up for it by being naughty and playful. This is from 2013, bro. He's a real one for that. RIP. RIP to a real one, bro. Bro kept it real on the timeline, I'll tell you that. He may have brutally cracked down on 30,000 of his own citizens, but he kept it real on the TL. This has all the good ones. What's this? What is this? You can't leave all tasks to your wife. Oh, wait, it's got a video. wait. You can't leave all tasks to your wife, then criticize her, even if she's a scientist politician. Yet when interacting with a family, she's a hashtag flower. I mean, yeah, fucking true. It's like you go to a shop. When you come out, your money's gone, but you've bought things. What's important, what you purchased is worth the fortune. What the fuck? Wait a minute. Was he just wise as hell? Man has a responsibility to understand hashtag woman's needs, and feelings must not be neglectful toward her hashtag emotional state. Yeah, he's a true champion of women's rights. Planting a tree is a religious revolutionary act. I'm not into cinema and visual arts, but when it comes to poetry and novels, I'm not just a typical audience. He's a pick-me? He's a pick-me Ayatollah? What the fuck? Holy. What Western media describes as romance is not true hashtag love. It's fleeting sexual excitement with no sense of hashtag responsibility involved. So fucking true, Unc. It's preach, dude. These fucking apps, they're ruining romance. A tender heart, a welcoming face, and a silver tongue would do magic? Is he making a Hinge profile? Dude, what the hell? Bro was like 80 when he posted all these tweets. He was like 78. He was insanely old. Hashtag yes all women. So true. Wow, that's crazy. Those are very funny. Those are very funny. Marco Rubio having to work 7 different jobs. Marco Rubio after realizing he has to run Iran. That is funny. That is funny. Bro, they got Marco fucking trying to run Venezuela, Cuba, Iran. This is exactly the tweet I was talking about. Wow, you found it. Oh my goat. Oh my fucking goat, dude. I mean, it's a little late. I already described it, but this is the tweet. If you're gonna take my frame, at least you could do is give me a shout out. So he's talking about the frame, the divorce framing. And he calls out the Wall Street Journal. And then I looked at this article February 4th, and it's like, oh, okay. When was my video? Ladies and gentlemen, it was May 1st, 2025. 2025, dude. But that would have been cool if I didn't spend 8 years looking for it. Tweet at him. Oh, come on, bro. You think I'm that kind of petty? I absolutely am. I'm mocking to him to my stream. Does starting a war in Iran detract from the 8 wars Trump stopped? I mean, let's just do the math, huh? Let's give him a -1. He still stopped 7 wars. We should still give him the Peace Prize, for sure. For sure. I mean, it's just it's still +7. That's an incredible number. Plus, yeah, it's plus EV. This is a war to end 9 wars. He's probably going to add. He's going to be like, yeah, he's going to count this as, he's going to be like, I ended 9 wars because I invaded Iran. Gonna go disassociate for the night. All I would say is, you know, I understand all these events are fucking coming at us fast and furious, and it's very overwhelming. But man, I just think to keep it simple if you're an American citizen, this is my big theme for the year, and I know it's more overtly political than I would like to be in a normal America. I'm so locked in on doing what you can to make a difference in the midterms, doing what you can to support politicians that are fighting against any emergency powers around the midterms. I think we got to go too big to rig, bro. I'm not kidding. Like, they're going to do some shit with mail. I think you got to vote in person. I think we got to do every fucking thing we can because this is a huge pivotal turning point. I think if this vote gets through, goes well, and we're done, it changes everything going forward. It's so much additional institutional power to put a lid on what Trump can do. And I think if you're an American, you know, you can ignore everything else if you have to. It's not gonna, your ability to impact it is so limited. I think it's worth, if you have the mental space for it, to keep up and learn. But if you don't, I think just whatever you can do on the midterms, man, it's really important. It's a very important year. I think 26 is coming down as a very pivotal year. How do you think Britain can rebuild its empire? Should we let it go? Yeah, dude, you should let it go. That's your big concern with Britain right now, is rebuilding the empire? The empire you had at the beginning of industrialization that was across the globe? You're trying to rebuild that? You want British power across 7 continents? What do you, no, dude. That not only was it not a good thing, but it's over. Britain should be focusing internally on rebuilding a fucking healthy, prosperous society on the fucking UK mainland. Um, mm, it's like the Mongols being the Mongolians being like, should we rebuild what Genghis Khan had? Should we conquer the fucking eastern steppes? Should we sweep into Europe? It's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's a good idea, honestly. Greece being like, should we bring back what Alexander had? Should we just try to fucking sweep through Persia? Italy with Rome? We just conquer the whole Mediterranean?
Bias.
This video. This video is explaining Iran's insight into intervening. Listen, bro, I explained this. I think I did actually. For given the challenge of the nuance of what I'm talking about, I did a pretty good job of explaining the other side of it and why Iranians might want intervention. I gave not just lip service, but real explanation to that. However, that's not what I believe. That's not what I believe. So I don't think I need to go into a deeper video on it. I think I explained it. I totally understand that line of thought. And I have zero love for the Ayatollah. And I do think that there's incredible corruption and that the fucking country's been run into the ground. I do think that. But it doesn't, you have to understand that 1 + 1 does not equal 3, bro. It doesn't mean that you have the right as any other country to just unilaterally start bombing shit and try to put whoever you want in power. And once you do that, you inherit all the problems that creates, which it always does create problems. Iran confirmed the death of basically Khomeini's whole family. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a military expert, but I think Khomeini hiding in the top floor of a place with other IRGC leadership was fucking stupid. It's crazy. From my understanding, he did not go to like a bunker, or he fucking insanely overconfident. He was exactly where they expected him to be, and why would the kingpin strategy work in Iran? Are you listening to me? That's a whole presentation. I don't think it will. What are you, who are you fighting? Who are you fighting? What is it? Can you repeat my point back to me? Like, what am I saying? I made a whole fucking thing. I've said my thoughts as clear as I can, bro. I swear to God, I'm getting rage baited. I swear to God. Only in Twitch chat will I see the words the Ayatollah was gesture maxing. Only in Twitch chat, and then in your president in 20 years. Okay? You're going to see the exact same lines from your fucking elected officials when you're all 40. President Jimmy Beast is going to talk about how the enemies of America are cortisol maxing him. And he's getting fucking rage baited into World War VII. All right? That's where we're headed. president in 20 years will still be a boomer. I mean, God willing, we get Joe Biden in 20 years. God willing. Because at that point, he'll finally have the experience. I'm hoping that Joe Biden comes back in fucking 2046 to finally set this country on the right path. But I actually think that Trump is the last boomer president. But they went out with a bang, didn't they? Oh, God. I actually think Trump is the last boomer president, and man, did they leave this world kicking and fucking screaming. They really have just fucked us, dude. Just for decades and decades and decades, but we're ending on a... he really is the arch boomer, yeah, for sure. When she dies, who's in charge of China? It's a big question. It's a big China question, the succession question. We don't know. He has not announced the successor. He has not put it up. It's a big question mark. What happens after Xi Jinping? People don't know. But he plans to live to 150. You're not even joking. He's not even joking, dude. You say that, but he literally had the thing where they caught him on mic with Putin talking about how organ transplants, you could live to be 120 plus. Like, he literally talked about it. Bro, Firik, I know you've been asking a million times. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't remember it. I'm sorry. I read like 10 pages. I barely got into it. I ordered it because back when I was researching Iran before the first strikes on the nuclear capabilities, I just started it, but then something else happened. I don't remember the book. I'll find it for you. I swear. It's a very interesting book. Pure Seal, thank you for the 53 months. Have you read How Nations Fail? Not only did I read it, we did a book club on it for Lemonade Stand. So if you're interested in fucking punting money, me, Aiden, and Doug talked about it on our Patreon. Oh, I'm sorry. We did how nations go broke. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. And it's just two words says they go woke. 3 words, I'm sorry. It's 72 point font, 3 pages, says they go woke. And that's the end of the book. And it's like, it's powerful. It's honestly a fucking powerful. This is an FT article on Hormuz. Yeah, I read this morning. It's just about how tankers are cashing in their insurance policies. And insurers are canceling future trips to go through the Strait of Hormuz because it's now dangerous, which means oil prices go up. Damn, tankers are so fucking big. Why don't we just like put all the oil on in like 1 barrel per boat and send a lot of speedboats across? Wouldn't that be more efficient? And it'd be cool too, because speedboats are cooler. So think about that. Why do they wash the oil off the ducks if it's worth so much? Another great question. Wouldn't the ducks want to keep the oil because it makes them wealthier? Why don't we just build a gigantic 100x size trebuchet, put the oil barrels in the trebuchet, launch them to the countries they need, and have a giant like vat that it can fall in? It breaks the barrel and into a sieve. Because it's too good of an idea. Like a giant baseball mitt. Isn't Elon Musk ass idea? Elon Musk going to talk about oil trebuchets, raise $1 trillion for SpaceX. Fucking never deliver. Talk about it for 4 years straight. We're going to use rockets to transport oil. We're going to burn gargantuan amounts of oil to launch the oil barrels up into space, then launch them back down where we need. But it'll go through space. Casually explained Wallstreetbets posted 2 hours ago.
I have 100.
Holy shit. A little palate cleanser from War. We do love making fun of Wallstreetbets in this show, on this broadcast. And I love Casually Explained. A little War palate cleanser? Okay, let's see. Casually Explained, sponsored by Incogni.
Dollars.
Not anymore, you don't. Poof.
On November 29, 2011, Drake released the motto, which popularized the word YOLO, the once trademark catchphrase of the now well-known subreddit Wallstreetbets. Little did Drake know he wasn't just popularizing a cringy millennialism and double wristing, truly two sides of the same coin. He was setting humanity down a slippery slope of degeneracy that would replace our idea of a retirement plan with an 11-leg Washington Wizards parlay, which to be fair in this day and age are both equally unlikely ever to materialize. Prior to COVID, Wallstreetbets was actually a pretty small community of mostly white-collar, early middle-aged professionals, usually in finance or software, who would write up what was called a due diligence or DD report on a niche stock or commodity they thought was going to experience.
They were all stupid, almost universally. They were all like, they would all miss something so obvious. It's like the guy that said, who was the guy that said copper? People are complaining about copper in the medals of the Olympics, so I'm shorting copper. But no, I mean, even the serious ones, they would talk about like one aspect and they would go hyper fixated detail on it, but they would ignore like some other very obvious thing that is moving the stock.
A massive price move in the next week or two due to an impending and exciting catalyst. Then they'd post the positions they'd taken to capitalize on the idea before following up later with their losses. For non-market people, you need to understand that when people talk about stocks, they're talking about how you can take your hypothetical savings, buy a piece of someone else's business, and then get the rewards from their work by clicking one button on the internet and then not doing anything.
Yeah.
When I told people who don't know this, it's a pretty common reaction to think it sounds too good to be true and must be a scam, which is partially true, but it's also the bedrock of the entire global economy, so you better get with the times. If this is even remotely revelatory for anyone, you better forget it, because Wall Street and Wallstreetbets is not about figuring out how to maximize returns on your capital by investing in actually good businesses like Costco or Toyota. It's realizing that there are heavily traded financial derivatives for orange juice futures, and this is going to be a screwdriver summer, my girlies. During this era of the mid to late 2010s, Wallstreetbets, along with the rest of Reddit, gradually started to skew to a younger and larger audience as it became more of a social media app, resulting in a lot more college students who hadn't quite cut their teeth in the derivative markets to join the scene.
Right.
This culminated in the finale of the OG era of Wallstreetbets in 2019, when user controlled the narrative used a Robinhood exploit to get $48K in margin on a $2,000.
The guy. This is an, I thought this was after GME. This is an iconic internet moment. This is a legend.
Account, or as he described, leveraged for my personal risk tolerance. Then he bought $50,000 worth of Apple puts, held through earnings, then live streamed himself reacting to losing it all, uttering the now infamous After asking Wallstreetbets if he's going to go to jail and what he should do, a user assuaged his concerns by saying, just delete the app. This, however, would quickly be forgotten, as literally at the same time, China was welding people into their apartment buildings for catching what was seemingly just a bad case of pangolin fever, which caused many people to say, oh, classic China, as they arrogantly enjoyed their Western freedoms and abundance of toilet.
Bro, remember Elon Musk saying we'd have no new cases by April? He said, minor, no new cases in America by April will be done.
Paper. The second era of Wall Street bets coincided with its massive surge in popularity during COVID, because everyone was forced inside indefinitely with thousands in stimulus checks and unemployment payments that they desperately needed to avoid using to pay down their student debt, as that was congressionally deferred and would obviously never be coming back. The COVID era was one of the best Wall Street bets ever had, because most people getting involved with markets for the first time were just panicked that the entire global economy was going to collapse and we'd all die. Meaning it wasn't so much about making money or coming up with a dumb circle jerk DD, it was about Wall Street bets becoming a front page subreddit where the best and brightest 20-year-olds could try to educate the masses. Then I could not understand anything they said and just make fun of them with a meme and get 10 times as many upvotes. It really made you feel that if we're all going to die, at least we'd die together. And it wasn't like you were losing money, it felt like we were losing money. Which everyone was, because actual Wall Street was siphoning as many extra stimulus checks as possible from the peasants to the wealthy, which at least brought back a sense of normalcy to the middle class. To me, the absolute peak of this era, other than the memes, was that because everyone in the community was so green, all the trends were just a random internet guy making up a nonsensical but easy to follow narrative.
That's what it was. Just a person would write this is pre-chat GPT. So if a person wrote a convincing enough Reddit post, people were like, oh, you must be smart. They would just write anything. They would write fucking anything. They wrote like 6 paragraphs on why fucking Dunkin' Donuts is about to go to the fucking moon. It's built for success. And then everyone would be like, oh, well, must be, fuck it. I skimmed it and I read the title and I'm going to fucking put some of my savings into Dunkin'.
And then everyone would just pile into a trade. This included such classics as, we'll buy liquor stocks because everyone's at home drinking, which was only derailed because the author did not take into account that one of the biggest customers of the alcohol industry was restaurants and bars, which were in fact closed. There was also...
That's what I'm talking about. They would always miss like one obvious thing. They would write all these paragraphs and they would miss like one obvious takeaway. And this happened over and over again. Like think it through one more step.
We'll buy Activision because Call of Duty Warzone would massively beat revenue estimates because everyone's at home playing it, which was only derailed because Candy Crush, Activision's actual highest grossing game, was only played by Chinese moms at airports and missed on revenue completely. Another iconic moment was the SPAC bubble, which is shell companies that are publicly listed that would acquire private companies in order to backdoor them into public markets for a huge fee without going through a lengthy and legally rigorous IPO. This brought us such stocks as Lordstown Motors, Hyliion, and ChargePoint, which are all now down 9%.
Maybe blitz by that. I just want you to understand that SPACs, I guess they still sort of exist today. There's a few. Phase was one. But the idea is if you want to list your stock publicly, you have to do a lot of work, a lot of financial rigor. You have to publish a lot of reports on your financials. But there's these companies, there are SPACs, that already were listed publicly, and they would like fake buy you so that you could get listed publicly. You could like reverse takeover. You could just skip all the rigor. That sounds illegal. It's not, but it was fucked up. It's a loophole. They probably shouldn't be legal because it's fucking scammy for consumers. But people just wanted publicly traded stocks.
99% from their peak. Then there's my personal pet peeve, scam stock.
What did SPAC companies even do to be listed? They would just be super small. It would be like, hi, I have a cardboard warehouse company that sells 50 cardboard boxes a year. I have revenue of $20. Okay? I want to be listed publicly. And they would fill it out in a very simple form. And then they'd get listed. And then they'd be like, all right, well, now I'm charging $300 million to sell this slot basically to fucking FaZe. And now FaZe has my slot and they're listed publicly. That's the idea, bro. It's insane. Like it was just a scam. It was...
and ChargePoint, which are all now down 99% from their peak. Then there's my personal pet peeve scam stock, Nikola Motors, a company that commissioned a few 3D renders of a hydrogen truck from Fiverr, then filmed themselves rolling another truck down a hill to make it look like it worked. Market cap, $30 billion.
Dude, that is legendary. That is legendary. Zero tech. Nothing. Just a fucking scam. And this is like when Tesla was mooning. Anything EV related was mooning because Tesla was mooning at the time, early 2020. You could just say, this is around this time, 21, companies that had zero revenue or were like we sell strawberries. We have a small strawberry farm. They would relist themselves as like strawberry crypto. People were just putting crypto in their name and their stock would moon. Like, it was crazy.
A company with a single 3D render was worth more than Ford Motors. I personally hated this company with an Air Canada level of passion because of the brazen intention of the CEO.
Yeah, like the Long Island blockchain company. Yeah, exactly. AI is kind of like that now.
Just make shit up all the time, which is exemplified by the time he pointed at the tablet in the driver's seat and said, "This media console uses a custom operating system we designed that runs on an HTML supercomputer." If you don't know why that's so tilting, that's like me saying, yeah, we recreated DoorDash, but instead of delivering the food to your house, we just cook it for you directly in the app. My single favorite event in the COVID era was one of the many guys who in April of 2020 bought a bunch of futures contracts for West Texas Intermediate crude oil when everyone ran out of space to store it and prices hit negative $32 a barrel. Hours later, he sold every contract except one as the price rose to -4 for a nice profit. He went on Wallstreetbets to brag that just his one remaining contract was worth over $26,000 and that trading for the contract expired, so he'd locked it in at that price. Another user then pointed out that an expired WTI futures contract isn't cash settled and that he didn't lock in a $26,000 profit. He locked in $26,000 worth of crude oil that would be physically delivered to him in Cushing, Oklahoma. At the time, this was the funniest misunderstanding I'd ever read and is up there with the guy who lost it all on ornamental gourds. Do yourself a favor and pause to read this one.
Oh, wait, the gourds guy. I have lost everything and I'm not sure how to continue. This summer, I invested $17,500, 6 months of salary and my entire life savings into ornamental gourd futures, hoping to capitalize on this lucrative emerging industry. After watching a video about Vincent Casaga and his monopoly on onions, I decided I'd try to do something similar with another vegetable. I did some research and found out that many agricultural forecasters expected this year's gourd yield would be smaller than the past, due to deteriorating soil conditions in central Mexico and a warmer than average spring. At first, demand soared around Halloween and prices skyrocketed, but the gourd bubble burst on November 12th. Unfortunately, the coronavirus caused a massive drop-off in demand due to fewer families decorating their tables for Thanksgiving, and prices plummeted. I had invested early enough that I thought I'd still be fine, but then on the morning, December 2nd, a new email in my inbox caused my stomach to turn into a pretzel. The massive gourd shipment from Argentina scheduled for early March had arrived. I had planned on selling off my futures right before this in February, but this ruined everything. To top it off, the gourds in this shipment were absolutely gargantuan, some topping 4 pounds each, causing the price per pound to drop like an anchor into the range of 6 cents per pound. I am ruined.
I remember seeing this
What
for the
a
first
legend.
time,
What a
actually
legend.
laughing my ass off and thinking, this is literally the funniest satire I have ever read. And then I looked at the guy's post history and was like, there's no fucking way. There's actually no fucking way. Frankly, homie must be doing fine now because he might be the only person I'm certain cannot be replaced by AI. In 2021, as COVID was nearing an end, we began the final chapter of Wallstreetbets that led us into the modern day, which was the GameStop short squeeze. As of right now, the most upvoted post in the entire history of Reddit is about GameStop, which gives you a sense of scale of this whole operation. In brief,
500K
user Roaring
upvotes.
Kitty posted a good old-fashioned DD on how GameStop might appear to be a failing brick-and-mortar retailer being usurped by online digital video game sales, that because this was such a consensus Wall Street view, the amount of people who were borrowing stock to sell it short was immense, and his idea was it was a classic setup for a short squeeze, which means if the price were to go up a lot in a short period of time, all the people shorting would be forced to buy more.
His original DD was 100% correct, and Roaring Kitty was legendary for that. His later DD, where he showed up tweaked out, glasses on a live stream saying pump the stock, was fucking degenerate and crazy, and seemed like there was a gun pointed at his head by the fucking mafia. That was fucking scamming people. His original DD, when it was like fucking $2, he's like, hey, it might go to $4. That was smart.
Stock to close their losing position, resulting in a Volkswagen-style infinite money glitch for buyers. Actual finance people were quick to point out the drastic differences between these circumstances and how the DD didn't really make that much sense, but this is Reddit, and Michael Burry was in on the short squeeze thesis, so as everyone's hero George Soros said, show me a bubble and I'm buying. What a little cutie. I don't want to get too deep on the lore because to this day almost every white-collar guy I've met in real life over 30 has a defense mechanism for the money they lost on this trade. But in short, what was originally a novel trade idea with a moderate return potential turned into a global meme where every 20 to 55-year-old male on planet Earth bought GameStop.
I'll just say, try being a streamer in 2021, having to consistently say that AMC and GME won't make you money and they're a bad choice. I got so much shit for saying AMC was a stupid, failing company. Don't put your money in it. I got so much shit. Now, 2 years later, everyone's like, how funny. In 2021, all the comments were like, you fucking fudding idiot. They gave you so much shit.
stock or options, and the price went absolutely vertical. Roaring Kitty started by posting his positions worth 50,000 and peaking at 48 million. If you're wondering why literally everything is a loot box nowadays, it's because ever since the boys have been chasing this moment. The final conclusion was when GameStop squeezed to over a $30 billion market cap, and every broker's website was fighting for its life to handle all the traffic.
It's still gonna happen. Just wait for MOAS 2075. Dude, I love the lore. I love MOAS. I love the fucking the deep state who are deleting your Bed Bath and Beyond options. I think the lore of it is fucking awesome, bro. I love the fact that the CEO of AMC is a real true working class hero helping us fight against the hedgies by constantly diluting our stock and printing new shares. Yeah, it's awesome. It's such a funny...
Because they weren't using a supercomputer running on HTML. After reaching nearly $500 split adjusted, the stock then suddenly collapsed limit down after limit down to nearly $100 because Robinhood literally turned off the buy button for all their users. This started a grand conspiracy that still persists to this day, that the powers that be on Wall Street were getting caught with their pants down by retail vigilantes, but used their connection...
Oh shit, I gotta go. Rochelle! I'm on my way. I was yapping. I'm on my way. I'll see you soon. Bye. Holy folks, I got a dinner party. Finish the video.
The deep state to illegally make Robinhood manipulate the market to their own interests. If you ask someone what evidence they have for this, it usually boils down to, well, it really felt like it. And while I feel bad for...
Honestly, I gotta go. Guys, thanks for watching! I'm on my way, Rochelle. And don't forget the donuts. Guys, insane world we're living in, but it is interesting to talk about it with you. I understand it's controversial stuff and everyone gets heated, but I think it's worth it that we discuss it and talk about it and try to learn what we can. It's all crazy fog of war, but I would feel bad if I avoided it because it's controversial. I want to talk about it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. 07. Appreciate you. I'll be back probably not tomorrow, maybe tomorrow because there's so much going on. I really want to do this presentation on Anthropic and OpenAI and the follow-up. And also on Block laying off half of its people, Thanos Snap. So possibly I will be live tomorrow. 07s. I'm going to raid somebody. And, you know, main thing, if you're an American citizen, please consider however you can get involved for the midterms. And if you are not an American citizen, I guess just, you know, support for the people of Iran. I'm really wishing them the best for them. This is a fucking insane time for them, and they've been dealt a terrible hand for decade after decade after decade by foreign powers and internal ones. I guess I'll raid, who am I raiding? Nobody's live, bro. I don't know. Sea-Dog live? I'll raid Sea-Dog VA. Wait, is Librarian live? He'd be perfect. Is Librarian live? What's his channel? I want to raid Librarian for sure. Yeah. Right, we're gonna raid Librarian. Make him talk about politics. Let's get Librarian's thoughts on this, bro. Make him step up, speak out. All right, guys. Bye.